Hello everyone. It's December 20th, 2020, not the 21st. I apologize for that. I don't know what I was thinking when I wrote that. This is going to basically be a channel update for what'll be going on for about the next month or so, as well as a recap of our personal experiences of the horrible year that it was 2020, well, still is for another week or so. And then I will get into this in the second half. But first, it's about, I don't know if you can see that, it's 55 degrees Fahrenheit out, which is about, what is that, 13 degrees centigrade? Yeah, I think it's around there, close to that, maybe a little less. Anyway, I'll correct it if it's not. You, as usual, if I misspeak or anything, corrections will appear in text on the video. This is the last thing I plan on uploading before next year. It is not the last thing I plan on filming. Tonight we are going to try to catch the conjunction of Jupiter and Saturn on the east side of Lake Michigan. We're going to go to Warren Dunes. Before I get into what is behind me, I just want to talk a little bit about what has happened to us personally over the past year. There have been some good things, but there have been a lot of bad things, and the bad things are more numerous. And I don't want to hear anything about me being a negative Nancy or anything like that. It just, sorry guys, that's how life is. Most of life is stuff that tends to smack you in the face, not stuff that brings you up. Now that I left you on that depressing note, let's get into what I want to talk about. This year has been a very rough year for many people, both personally and just globally, because of COVID. But it's been an especially bad year for us. That aside, we both managed to keep our jobs, which was good. We didn't have to take any time off or anything. The bad thing is, we were going to get married along a beach in Michigan on November 7th, but due to COVID, we had to have a small scale wedding in Indiana, which actually turned out to be very beautiful. It is uploaded on the channel if you wanna go look at it. But we had to scale that way back. We didn't get to have the reception where we wanted to. So Ezra passed back in April on Earth Day, April 22nd, 2020. That was really heartbreaking for me because he was my best friend for 13 years, although he was probably 15 or 16 years old. His video's about that too. 3 days later, something else good happened. Our neighbor comes and goes, there's an orange kitten running down the street. Sarah goes after it, and I'm thinking nothing's gonna happen. An hour later, she comes back with this little tiny 6-week orange bundle in her shirt, hence Tiberius. You guys have seen him as well. So that happened. That was a good plus thing. But other things have happened more recently that have not been good per se. As most of you know, I am trying, even though I work for an agency and I'm trying to shift jobs. I within the agency, just move positions. A lateral move. It's a different job, but lateral move. No increase in pay, nothing like that. And my present managers have been making that transition very difficult for me. I don't think they want me to leave, but I have to watch out for me, all right, first and foremost, and what's mine and my family now. As most of you know, I am in the process of being tested for aphasia. I actually go in for an MRI in January. I'll let you know how that goes. A couple of weeks ago, Sarah lost an uncle to COVID. I'm just going to leave that there. But so she took the day off, and I did too, to be there with her. And I go out to the truck, and there's stuff all over the ground. And my geology backpack was missing, along with my orange backpack. Fortunately, the expensive stuff had been removed. The really expensive stuff, like the camcorder, Sarah's camera, all of that stuff had been removed. But it had my field notes in it. And that was what really upset me more than anything. And a little cruddy digital camera that I hadn't downloaded some geo photos off of yet. So I lost that. The bag was a Klein tool bag, so obviously they knew what it was. They did pull most of the stuff out of it. However, they were probably meth heads. They went up and down the street. I was fortunate or not fortunate, depending how you look at it, because I left the truck unlocked, so I didn't get a broken window. In the pockets was my GPS unit, which was that thing's about 12 years old now, and it needed to be replaced anyway. I'm not so upset about that. What I am upset about is the digital camera, my field notes and all that, but I'll get back to that in a second. That turned out not to be that bad. And my Brunton compass, my quadrant Brunton compass. I had one when I was at Illinois State in college. I had a Brunton for about 20 years. And then, what was it? I think it was summer 2018, no, we had the trucks. It was last summer 2019. I'm helping Dr. Malone out with his students. We're at a place in Wisconsin, and I'm walking over a log, and I open my compass to see which way I'm going, and the insides explode, land in the swamp. Fortunately, at the time, I had a backup because I knew that compass was on its last leg. I had bought one back in 2012, but never really used it. So I started using that one. Well, that was in the bag. Those compasses cost about $435. That's gone. But I was really devastated. Me was the notes and the camera. So we were driving for lunch, and I see orange, because guys know everything I have is orange at the end of the road. And what's there? They had tossed the insides of the orange and the orange bag, because orange bag didn't have anything of value in it. They tossed the orange bag, my field notes, so I got those back. They tossed my rock hammer, probably because it was so beat up they couldn't get anything for it. They tossed that. They tossed my measuring tape, which was also beat up. They kept the bag. They kept the camera. They kept the compass. And they kept the GPS. Everything else I got back. I did make a police report, but since the truck was in the driveway, I had to file a homeowner's insurance claim as opposed to a vehicle insurance. Well, anyone who owns a home knows that deductible is a lot larger. Well, I didn't meet the deductible. So now I'm out, $435 and a camera that had probably a couple dozen pics on it. And on top of the nightmare that is 2020, my phone, my contract, I've had Sprint since 2002. Anyway, they merged with T-Mobile this year. My contract was up in February or March, something like that. So I basically just been paying the bill every month. Well, they stopped letting me do that this month. So I had to go in and get a new phone. So that was $160 odd I had to drop right there, plus the other box for it. And that's what I'm recording this video on. This is the first video I'm putting together recorded on this phone. It's the iPhone 12. And one more thing, the GeoShed here, it's holding up really good. I'm really impressed. I still can't believe Sarah and I built a building. We did this in the spring and summer 2019. So it's about a year and a half old, somewhere in there. But the main door I use, because I had the double barn door so I get big things in and out of here, the one door is warping. And I'm going to have to replace it. And the bottom is fraying as well. I put the blocker on the bottom, the rubber blocker, too far down. So when I open and close the door, it pulls and snags and it's starting to rip. So it'll probably that's thick plywood though. So it's gonna cost a pretty penny. I'm not happy about that. But the awning too, once I get that installed, will help keep the weather away from the door. So I won't even need something on the bottom. Anyway, that's the things I can think of that have really hit us hard this year. More so than just COVID. People are getting desperate. It's not a big secret where I live. I'm pretty open about that. I don't see a need to keep it a big secret. You've all seen my face. You know who I am. But anyway, that aside, the neighborhood, other than the burglaries I mentioned, in vehicles, have had other happenings going on here in the past couple of weeks. We have had 5 burglaries in the area, like within, I would say, a half mile of my house. That is really high. Usually we get that in a year. So somebody's not only been breaking into vehicles, they've been breaking into houses. There was a domestic hostage situation 3 blocks away that ended in tragedy. For the one with the weapon, apparently we went to go get ice cream. We were going down the street and all of a sudden we see this light shining on us, and a guy in an unmarked car, we didn't know if he was the cops or federal agent or what. He starts yelling to turn around, so we go. Nothing's in the papers. Well, it's in the Chicago Tribune. It did eventually appear there, but nothing next few days. And apparently what had happened was the boyfriend of the woman that lived there he was really young. He was 22. I'm not going to give his name. He took her hostage in her house. He ended up letting her go pretty early, but it ended in tragedy for him, and that's all I'll say about it. He didn't make it out. On top of that, the cat shelter that I often post on Facebook and try to get people to donate to, they were broken into in one of their storage sheds. It was the shed where they keep the gifts for Christmas for senior citizens. So the meth heads that broke into there got a bunch of Bengay and stuff like that. They actually left most of the stuff, but they ransacked it. They ripped things open. They took what they thought they could get money for. So there was that too. So it's just been, and it's funny because I'm supposed to be living in a nice, safe area. And it's funny because the people that live around me are always saying, oh, Chicago's nothing but a crime zone. I'm like, I don't know. It seems to be a lot worse right here. I lived in Chicago for 5 years, and I never had these problems. But anyway, I digress. Let's get into this here. Next year, Geophiles, the big, long, technical series that I have. It'll be series 5, episode 1, and this is going to brief you on that because I think this is very interesting. This is something I've wanted to do for a long time. This will not be a Geophiles in the field. I'm not going to be showing you any of my in-depth field videos, although there might be some pictures there, here or there, whatever. I'm still trying to figure out how to format it, but it's going to be basically a lecture about this. Now, this is drawn freehand. This is my North America, so I know it's not to scale, and I hope you can see it as North America. I did put a north arrow on it, but since it's my own drawing, I'm not sure the scale. I'm looking maybe, this is probably, this might be 500 kilometers right there, those 3 fingers. I don't know, whatever. But anyway, you see this, and I hope it looks like North America. You have Iceland. The outlines are in black of the land, and we have the Great Lakes, Lake Superior, Lake Huron, Lake Mediocre, Lake Erie, and Lake Ontario. And you see this pinkish red. This is the Mid-Atlantic Ridge, or this is where rifting is occurring, and it has pulled Europe away from North America. The stuff in purple is active present rifting. The stuff you see like this, perpendicular to the actual rift, so these lines and these lines, those are strike slip faults or transform boundaries as we call them. And I did not put one here. I failed you. The blue is active subduction. I should have arrows there. I believe the transform boundary is like this. Most of you may recognize this here. This transform fault here holds the San Andreas Fault, and that's going to be part of this bigger discussion here, but actually it's a minor player. It's a big player, and a lot of you are aware of it as it is the source of many earthquakes in California, but we're going to zoom out. We're going to pull back. We're going to try to make tectonic predictions, future tectonic predictions, which will either come to pass or will not long after any of us and our children or grandchildren or great-great-grandchildren or great-grandchildren to the 10th power, 20th power, 30th power are long gone, if humanity's even still around. So we have active rifting, the pinkish purple, whatever you can call it, active subduction, the blue, the teeth are on the part that's overriding. So subductions are basically large thrust faults. You see this green and this red. Well, first of all, this orange is Yellowstone. I'm just gonna admit that's the hot spot that forms Yellowstone. That's what that's supposed to represent. What's up with this red rifting and question mark and this green subduction with a question mark? As I have talked to you before, something called Wilson cycles. Wilson cycles are something that occur I don't want to say periodically because time-wise they vary greatly, but there is a pattern to plate tectonics. You'll get rifting and an ocean basin will form, but that doesn't continue forever. Eventually what happens is that ocean basin will close because rifting elsewhere takes precedence over the rifting that formed that ocean basin, and new subduction may form. This type of thing, okay? So what's these question marks mean? Well, there's many predictions that geologists like to make about, it's fun, about 100, 200 million years in the future, what will the continents look like? And most have the Atlantic Ocean spreading North America, getting plowed into Asia more and more, Siberia. I don't think that's going to happen. That doesn't make sense for several reasons, which in the Geophiles episode I will touch upon, but it has to do, one, with plate velocities, and angular velocity is related to linear velocity. And in my plate tectonics video of before, I explain mathematically how you derive that relationship. I won't be doing that in the next one. Let's just say this rift velocity, the continents pulling apart, is nowhere near as fast as this. This is almost dead, but this extends down and becomes what's called the East Pacific Rise. And we're spreading more than twice as fast as we are here and there. Now, when plates move and continents move and they override rifts, this does happen, it tends to shut off that rift. And that seems to be what's happening here. These two plates are actually part of a larger extinct plate that has been consumed. And I'll get into that in the next video. But we have a unique situation here that we don't usually have when a continent just kind of moves over or merges with another continent over, subduction riding over a rift zone. We have a special situation here. We have this Yellowstone thing. This, I predict, is future rifting. I don't think North America is going to move much from its present position, at least in the next 15 million years. Why is that? Well, we have active subduction down here. This is a weird area. It's the Caribbean. That's a talk for another time, too. But this is a transform fault, too. I didn't put the arrows because I don't remember which way it goes, but it's a long one. Well, like I said, Wilson cycles. Ocean basin forms, and then eventually will close. So that's the pattern that we see over and over and over again, extending back at least 2 billion years. So it doesn't make sense that this is going to keep going. Well, is there something there to stop it? Is there something there to create this future subduction zone? Well, first we have subduction here. So it's not a far stretch to say that may eventually propagate up the east side of North America. Okay? Yes, we do. It's not just Yellowstone. It's not just this hot spot, which has stayed stationary as the North American plate has moved, because, and that's a talk for the longer video, there is a trail that this has followed, like there is with the Hawaiian island chain and the oceanic plate. This is a continental crust. But we have the basin and range, a largely ignored part of geology. Even people that live in this area, I'm shocked how many people aren't aware of the history of this. This is actively extending. The continent is showing grabens like you would see in the very early stages of a rift forming, even earlier than what's going on with the East African rift. All right, so East African rift is more mature than this is even. It's not as active as it used to be. Well, why? Well, because we've had this massive continent go over here. This once massive plate, that these remnants here are essentially gone. All right, this is still here. This is still extending, just not like it was. We have volcanics in here too, as with my sunset crater video and whatnot. But why do I think this will rift? Why do I think rifting will win out over subduction? Basically, what I predict what will happen is, and I'll do this more artfully in the Geophiles episode, is eventually I think with a combination of this and the basin and range, and as North America comes here, yeah, California, Baja California might transform up a little bit more, whatever, it doesn't matter, because eventually this is going to be overridden by the North American plate as well. We do have active plumes under here though. That's another thing. And once that happens, I think this is going to play a bigger role. The plate will totally be consumed and gone forever and ever. And I think rifting is going to try to reestablish with this as its focal point. So the continent may rift here. And this will become our new subduction zone, which will extend here, eventually closing the Atlantic basin. Is there any evidence that this is happening? Well, we do get earthquakes over here. And a lot of people and a lot of geologists have proposed it's just landslides off the continental shelf. But somewhere real deep. Not deep, but not at the ocean floor either. I think this is starting to feel the stresses of this. So we could be in the very, very, very beginning stages, like the very first things that happen when we form a new subduction zone. We will get earthquakes on a passive margin. So anyway, I think I've rambled enough about that. And I hope you look forward to the new Geophiles episode. I wanted to get my Illinois roadside and riverside geology book out, but the publisher has not been approving manuscripts lately. I wanted to get it out before Christmas. I'm sorry, it's in review. It's been in review for over a week. It's supposed to take 72 hours. So that's not going to happen. But I will link it eventually, and when I get it, and I'll order a copy for myself. Anyway, that's it. If you have any questions or comments, or don't agree with me, or why do you think I think this, feel free to leave them. Anyway, have a good day.